Hi students, this is Mr. Werman here, coming at you with a Screencastify video. I haven't done these for a little while. We used to do these quite often. But today what we're going to talk about is solving multi-step equations, and specifically our three types of solutions to multi-step equations, okay? So if you didn't get these in your notes, you need to get these in your notes here, and there'll be some questions posted as we go as well. All right, great. So to start us off here. There we go. So for algebra problems, okay, we're looking at our types of solutions. So we're going to start with the type that we're most familiar with, which is one solution, okay? Most often when you've done algebra problems, you have determined there is one possible solution to a problem. So that is one of our possibilities. So you should write this in your notes, three types of solutions to algebra problems. And our first type here is one solution, okay? So everything you see on the screen. So what does it mean, one solution? So that means there's only one solution to the problem. That should be obvious, right? All right, so if we look at 2x equals 10, this is a classic one solution to this problem, right? This is what we should have known going into this unit, but we looked at examples like this on lesson 1. So remember, our goal is always to isolate the variable, get the variable all alone using inverse operations, okay? So in this case, we have to isolate the variable. So what is the inverse operation of that 2? Well, the 2 is multiplying by the x. So the inverse operation is dividing by 2, right? So if we divide each side by 2, 2x divided by 2, we're left with x, and 10 divided by 2, we're left with 5, okay? So once we divide both sides by 2, we're left with x equals 5. We can plug this back in the equation to check it out. 2 times 5 equals 10. Perfect. Okay, nothing new really there. But this is a one type of solution to algebra problems. One possible solution, so one solution. All right, so you should have this all down. Solve for x equals 5. We're going to look at the next type, where there is no solution to an algebra problem. So no solution to an algebra problem. So again, write this in your notes. Our second type is no solution, which we would call a null set. And that symbol there of that 0 with the line going through it, that represents null set. So that means null set or no solution. So you can write that symbol when there's no solution, or you can write no solution. You can write the words no solution, or you can write the words null set. All right. Being a lazy mathematician, I would go with the circle with the line through it that represents null set. So what does that mean? That means there is no solution to the problem. So let's look at this problem here. We have 3x plus 4 equals 3x. 3x plus 4 equals 3x. Okay, think about our don't call me after midnight acronym. What's the first thing we do? What's the first step? So our first step, since we don't have to distribute, we don't have to combine like terms, we are going to move the variable. So we move that 3x. So notice we have 3x on each side. So if we want to move one, what is the opposite of 3x? Negative 3x or minus 3x. So we will subtract 3x from both sides. And then we're left with 4 on one side and 0 on the other. And so we know 4 does not equal 0. We're left with 4 and 0. There is no possible solution to this problem. So for this, we would say there is no solution. The answer is null set, or we can write that symbol that means null set, that 0 with a line through it. Okay, that means there's no solution to the problem. Again, all this should be in your notes, this example problem, and everything you see on the page there. All right. So the first one we looked at was one solution. The second one we looked at is no solution. And we're going to look at a third type, which is what we call the identity, or an infinite number of solutions. So if you remember the identity problem, or identity basically is a number equals itself. Okay, so the identity property of multiplication is, for example, 5 times 1 equals 5. Right? Identity property, we multiply by 1, we still got the same number we started with, which is 5. Okay, so that's the identity property. So this idea of identity means the number is going to equal itself. And because of that, there's going to be an infinite number of solutions. So again, we should write this down, identity infinite solutions. There are infinite solutions to this problem. Let's look at this example. 4x plus 2 equals 4x plus 2. Okay, looking at our Don't Call Me After Midnight acronym. What is the first step we should do? Once again, the first step is going to be to move that variable, right? So we want all the variables on the same side. Since we have no distribution, no combining of like terms, we're going to go to moving that variable. So we'll subtract 4x from the right and 4x from the left. When we subtract 4x, we're left with 0 x's on either side, and we just have 2 equals 2. We have 2 left on one side, 2 left on the other side. And we know since 2 equals 2, all real numbers will work for x. All right, so let's kind of check this a second. So for example, let's say x equals 1, right? If x equals 1, we have 4 times 1 plus 2 on one side of the equation. The other side of the equation has 4 times 1 plus 2. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6. 6 equals 6. So if x equals 1, we still get 6 equals 6, so that would work. We could try it with 0. 4 times 0 is 2. 4 times 0 is 2. 2 equals 2. It works. We could try x equals 3 and go on and on and on. It doesn't matter what we choose for x. It can be negative. It could be a fraction, any type of rational number. We will still get 2 equals 2 in this, or we'll get that all real numbers work. Okay? So infinite number of solutions. So if ever when you solve these problems, you get one number on one side and that same number is on the other side of the equal sign, we know that is an identity or infinite solutions to the problems. Okay, so you could write for that, you can write identity, you could write infinite solutions, or you can write all real numbers work. All right. So again, these are our 3 types: null set, no solution. Okay. For example, in that case, 4 equals 0, like we said. Since 4 is not equal to 0, there's no solutions. One solution, which is what we're used to, where you have x being worth one, our variable equal to one simple thing, one simple number. And then identity, where we end up being the constant on one side equals the constant on the other side. Okay, so 3 types of solutions. All right, so let's look at it in a couple problems really quick, okay? So you might need to pause this to write this all in your notes, because I'll move a little quick here. All right, so we have 6 times the quantity of x minus 3 plus 10 equals 2 times the quantity of 3x minus 4. All right, so if we look at our Don't Call Me After Midnight acronym, what's our first step? First step is going to be to, the first one, distribute. So we will distribute, right? So we're going to distribute that 6 to everything inside that parentheses and distribute that 2 to everything inside that parentheses. So let's take a little pen here to do just that. All right, so we are, as we said, distributing the 6 to everything in there, distributing the 2 to everything in there. Okay, so what are we left with once we do that? All right, I'll go ahead and type it out here. We have 6x minus 18, because that 6 times 3 became that 18, right? Plus 10, so that's still there. We didn't distribute anything there. Equals 6x. There we go, sorry. 6x. Oh, here we go. Give me trouble. Minus. Try again here. 6x, it should be 2 times that minus 4, should be a minus 8. There we go. Okay, and there should have been an equal sign here. Okay, so this is an equal sign. Okay. So we have 6x minus 18 plus 10 equals 6x minus 8. All right. Great. So again, that's an equal sign. So we're going to do a little line down there, as we often do. right? So we know we're balancing out this equation. All right. Remember, we are trying to use inverse operations to solve. So differentiating, which is distribute. The next thing is combine our like terms. So we have a negative 18 plus 10. Those are like terms on this side of the equation. What is a negative 18 plus 10? At negative 18, it's 18 below 0. It forms a 10. We are simply at a negative 8. So we have 6x minus 8 equals 6x minus 8. You probably should already see the possible solution at this point, but we're going to keep working through this for one more second. So we did our distributing. We did our combining like terms. Next up is move one variable, or move the variable. So from each side, we will subtract 6x, because we want all the variables on the same side of the equation. Once we do so, though, we see 6x cancels out to be 0, 6x cancels out to be 0, and all we're left with is a negative 8 equals negative 8. Okay, so when this is the case, what do we say our solution is in this case? Our solution is all real numbers. There's an infinite number of possibilities, right? Again, let's put in a 0. It's essentially what this is. We should get negative 8 equals negative 8. Let's plug in let's check it with a 1. So let's say 6 times 1 minus 18 plus 10 equals 6 times 1 minus 8. Okay, if we do that, we get 6 minus 8, 18 plus 10 equals 6 minus 8. Okay, 6 minus 18 is negative 12. Negative 12 plus 10 ends up being a negative 2. And 6 minus 8 is negative 2. So again, we try a different number, we'll see it's going to have the same thing. So it does not matter what number we choose. All real numbers will work. So an infinite number of solutions. Okay? All right. Great. Got my clear button. There we go. Okay. Great. Okay. As we see that. And again, they checked it with other numbers as well. They used a 5. Okay. And they still got an infinite number of solutions. Okay. One more here real quick. Again, what's our first step? We have distribution. So we're going to distribute the 8 to both those, distribute the 4 to both those. Simplify. So 8 times 4 is 32. 8 times our 2 in this minus means it's going to be a negative 16 or a minus 16x. 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times is 5 is going to be a negative 20 or a minus 20x plus 4x. Okay. So let's go ahead and just look at our solution here for time's sake. So we distributed there. We get 32 minus 16x equals 12 minus 20x plus 4. Remember, our next step in this is going to be once we have it here, we're going to combine any like terms. So we notice this 20x and this 4x are like terms. Since that's a minus, that ends up being a negative 16x. So now we have 32 minus 16x equals 12 minus 16x. All right, next step is to move our variables. So the opposite of subtracting 16x is adding 16x. So we did that to both sides. We're left with 32 equals 12. Since the statement 32 equals 12 is never true, the equation has no solution, and the solution set is a null set. So again, we'll say no solution, this null set. Okay. Again, you could try it with another number. They tried it with 2 just to double check. They substituted x with 2. 4 minus 2 times 2 ends up being 0, right? 4 minus 3 times 4 times the quantity of 3 minus 5 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. Minus 3 minus 10 is negative 7. And plus a 4 times 2. So they have 8 times 0 equals 4 times negative 7 plus 8. And we end up with 0 equals negative 20, which is not true. So we put that little cross through there saying that there's no possible solution, okay? All right. Okay, making sense? All right, if you think you got it, go ahead and try these out in your on your own here, these two problems. All right. And put in those solutions. Okay. All right. Great. Let me know if you have questions with this. That's all we have. Thanks.